Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 25th Red Nation International Film Festival. This is our Indigenous Filmmakers Lounge. It's our Fellows program. It's the Conversation Series. And before we get into introducing the film and our guest, I'd like to go over a couple of things. This is day 21 of a 30-day festival. We have 16 events, huge events. And we've had our Indigenous Lounge where we've been having the conversation with 28 different filmmakers throughout the festival. Every day we have like 1 to 3, 4 conversations. So it's been really extraordinary. And then we have 105 films, 35 directed by women, 73 documentaries, 12 student films, and 10 experimental. And you can see and experience all of this at rednationff.com. And I encourage you to go online and check out all these wonderful films. They're so extraordinary. And I just love all of our filmmakers. I wish that we were in person where we can hug each other and I can introduce everybody to everybody, but you know, we'll get through this together. So the films are coming in from the USA, Canada, Italy, Greenland, Australia, Mexico, Ecuador, France, Iceland, and Greece, and Australia. So that's very, very, very exciting. This year's been really extraordinary. The 25th Red Nation Celebration Institute is creating systemic change through the arts and media, the first and largest global Native woman-led enterprise, founded in 1995 in Santa Fe, New Mexico during Indian Market. RNCI is the longest standing American Indian and Indigenous media, educational, arts, and cultural nonprofit organization based in Los Angeles. RNCI, the authentic voice of American Indian and Indigenous nations, increases visibility of independent filmmakers, media artists, contemporary and traditional performing arts of diverse artistic disciplines, and content creators, amplifying cinematic excellence with an emphasis on initiatives for Native women, girls, and youth in all media platforms and educational institutions. RNCI is dedicated to changing the narrative about Native peoples on a global scale. RNCI Board of Directors has built the Institute to cast light on voices, stories, contributions, and assets of contemporary Native peoples in replacing dangerous stereotypes that Native people face in media and academia, with a 25-year history of cohesive, informed strategies, groundbreaking initiatives through cinematic excellence in media, and a strong focus on partnerships. And one last thing before we introduce the next film and our filmmakers. Red Nation Film Awards is November 29th, and it's VIP, it's exclusive. It's only going to be broadcast on Red Nation Television Network. It will not be live on Facebook. So I'd suggest you get a ticket because it's limited seating. We're only having a few audience members come in. So it's going to be really exciting, and you never know who we're going to have. Last year we had Christian Bale, Scott Cooper, and all these other, Sasheen Littlefeather, and on and on and on. So get your VIP ticket at rednationff.com. Okay, let's get to this. So this I love because we were talking pre-show, and it's all about Native glam. It's all about the red carpets, and we have our red is green carpet every year. It's all about how we see ourselves, our representation to the world, how we clothe ourselves, how we design ourselves, how we make up ourselves. And this is really exciting because this is where I thrive and all that. I love glam. Whatever glam I'm in. So I'd like to introduce our film, and the film is titled Becoming Orlando
Dugi.
Dugai, or Becoming Orlando Dugai. And our director is Kayla Watstein. Did I do that? I get it right?
Yeah, Waldstein.
Waldstein.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm native and Spanish Jew, so I should be able to get that right. But I don't even pronounce my own name correctly. I say Janelle with a J instead of with a G instead of with a J.
It takes a lot more for me to be offended. So
yeah. Okay. Great. Good. Same here. So let's talk about this native glam and how you became a designer. And but first, my first question is going to be to Kayla. Kayla, how did this come about for you to direct a native designer, fashion designer?
Well, I moved to Santa Fe 3.5 years ago, and I decided I wanted to become a professional filmmaker instead of just doing it as a hobby. And I found that some of the biggest events in the world take place here, including Santa Fe Indian Market. And I showed up with my camera and made a 3-minute film about the event and showed it to their marketing person and said, "Do you want this?" She's like, "Oh my God, I love it." And so that was my start with Indian Market. And since then, I've done more work for them and started collaborating with Amber Dawn Barrow, who is the Haute Couture fashion show producer. And she brought me on to help direct and produce this year's virtual Indian Market, because that was the option. And Orlando was the main show. And I thank Amber Dawn for putting the trust in me to really just run with this. She's like, "We want to do a biopic and capture his process, so now I'll let you two talk." And that was how it turned out. Is he lives locally, so I went on 8 or 9 visits to his house as he progressed through his designs and mic'd him up, and we had conversation about the inspiration, his background, the Indigenous experience in the United States. And I just put it all into an 8.5 video after a few months. And that's it in a nutshell.
Well, that's exciting, because now Indian Market, like we were sharing, now we have red carpets and we have fashion and music, contemporary music. And so Orlando, who inspired you to become a fashion designer?
I think the very first time, the first time I was exposed to what is fashion, to fashion in general, is my grandmothers making their own clothing, our traditional ceremonies and doings. Just seeing how everyone would, how they would dress, how they would wear the silk velvet blouses and skirts, and all the jewelry they would wear, and how the hair would be done up. And same with the men, silk velvet tops and all the silver jewelry and everything. And so that was, I think, was truly my first introduction to fashion in a general sense. All my grandmothers, they, everyone I think in that time period made their own clothes, right? So, yeah. So that's something I always remember seeing. My grandma sitting and hand stitching dresses and doing basting stitches and ruching them and then stitching them together to the different layers. And so that's always been with me. And I think about maybe 12 years ago, I was living in Salt Lake City with my partner, and we went to the public library. We used to go there and check out videos and books. And I found a book on an exhibition on Yves Saint Laurent. And I would flip through the pages, and I really, really loved all the clothing in there, all the embellishing and things like that. And it really it spoke to me because of how highly decorative and you know, just out there they were. And so it made me think of how people back home dressed, and so for
Yeah.
special occasions and things. And so that's where I sort of got my introduction into it. And um, and then Santa Fe Indian Market was my very, very, very first step toward designing and making clothes. And so my first Indian market was in 2009, I believe, and that's when I made my first garment, my first gown, my first beaded gown. And so and so I took a first place the following year, I took a second and third, and then I sort of just chose my path after that. So it's thanks to Indian Market for having that show available for me to enter.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That's really exciting. And I know that, you know, a lot of our native fashion designers have really come forward in the last few years, which is really exciting. And I really think it's because of Indian Market and the platform that's been laid out there for that to happen. You know, I think I believe it was a really good starting point. It definitely was like 99% a launching pad for us to have that happen. I want to share with you, you know, 40 years ago, 500 years ago, no, 40 years ago, a lot of my friends back then, even today, they keep saying, you know, the way that I dress, like you should start your own line. And I'm bringing this up because you've started your own line, you have your own line, you have your own designs. And I'm always fascinated with how that happens, because I don't know anything about that world, right? Although I have these great visuals in my mind of what to create and bring forth. So maybe after we can have a conversation when we're in Santa Fe in August or something next year.
Yeah, definitely.
I know it's probably something simple that if someone tells me, oh, and I would go, oh, that I could do that.
Well, that's funny because I didn't know anything about fashion when I started. I just read and just studied all kinds of things, and that's how I taught myself how to do everything I do now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I just thought of an idea, and I'm going to circle back to both of you after, but I just thought of a great idea. I don't want to announce it here. But I'm going to write it down. I know. I want to write it down right now. Where can I write it? I'm going to write it down right here. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to try again. Kayla. I don't know why I want to say Carla, but it's Kayla.
How my name always auto corrects when people text me. So
yeah. So Kayla, like, what was it like for you, you know, directing Orlando, and not only that, but doing the whole fashion segment for Indian Market this past August? Like, you know, because this was like a big thing for you, right? As really an emerging director.
Yeah, well, first of all, I feel very privileged as a non-Indigenous person to be having the door open to me and the trust to really help elevate these artists' voices. I mean, I kind of see my job as to help kind of, you know, distill, elevate, kind of transmit it. And I'm kind of learning the whole time. So I don't really go in with like preconceived notions. I kind of have basic ideas of what I want to ask and a template of how I work, and then I let it develop organically. And the process was really, I mean, it felt like developing a friendship, you know. It's like a very intimate experience. You're kind of given permission to just ask deep questions almost right off the bat, you know? And so I really got to know Orlando and his work in the process. And then it was just my pleasure to share what I learned with the rest of the world. And I have a background in the fine arts myself. So, and I'm also, you know, I have a sociology BA, and I'm a writer, and filmmaking is really blending all those things together. And so capturing the arts through film, kind of looking at it from, I don't know, not even a very humanistic perspective. It's my favorite thing in the world, and I'm just so pleased to be able to share it with everybody. And there's been a momentum building since I first brought my camera to Indian market, and this does feel momentous. I'm very proud of this work. It's one of my favorite things I've done, but I do feel there's more to come. And
oh yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And the challenge for all of us creatives for the next few years is going to be this online platform, right? Because we're all learning together and we're all doing this together. And it's going to be, I feel, even like for me doing this festival all online has been extraordinary learning process of technology and what we can really do with this technology moving forward.
And me, Amber, Dawn, and myself are continuing to, I mean, we've moved on to, I'm filming Kenneth Johnson now, who's a jeweler, metalsmith, living in Santa Fe, and Cara Romero is a photographer.
Yeah.
So we kind of know digital is the here and now and the future, and Orlando's is almost kind of like the template we're using for that because it was pretty successful. And
so,
well,
that's exciting.
Stay tuned.
So Orlando, for when you come up with, because being a creative, when you come up with a design, like I know we get it from our own, but like what inspires you? Like how does that happen for you internally?
Well, I don't know. It depends on, I guess it doesn't depend on anything. It can just happen. Like I could be driving along the road, or I could be watching TV, or I could be out gardening or working on something. I could be in the middle of sewing, I could be in the middle of beading, and something pops in my head, and if I don't like sketch it or make a little note of it, I lose it, because then another one comes up and another one comes up, and then it all just jumbles up in here, and then I try to decipher it later on, and it's gone. So I usually like to have a book with me, and I'll jot stuff down in it. Sometimes like emotions play a big part in design for me. So a lot of it's really like, you know how when you're sitting in like ceremony or something, something very spiritual, and there's this feeling that overcomes you, and it just kind of, you can just feel it through your whole body. And so I think that's how things come to me like that, because I feel like there's a connection between, you know, obviously within myself and to create something, but it just really doesn't, it just happens whenever it happens. And a lot of different things can inspire me to come up with the design. So and so I don't want to say like it's only just my background, only ceremonies and things like that that inspire me. It's anything and everything. And I think when Kayla and I talked a lot about stuff, it's a lot about my feelings, and just whatever comes up. So and it could even be smells too. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you, because how Red Nation initially came about was in ceremony. You know, I feel it was given to me through that way, you know.
Mhm.
But I also get inspiration from everything around, and intuitively and psychically and all of those things, all those, you know, everything combined.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Orlando, are you in New Mexico now?
Oh yeah, I live in Santa Fe.
Yeah. And so what nation are you from? What Pueblo?
Uh, I'm Navajo.
Okay.
I'm
I am
Diné.
too. I am too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where are you from?
I was born and
Uh,
raised in San Francisco.
Oh,
Yeah, and I've lived different places, been a little nomadic, but Santa Fe feels the most like home, even more than my hometown does right now. So
yeah. I miss home. I'm jealous you guys are there. I'm in LA and I would love to be home during this whole thing.
it's definitely feels
Yeah.
like a haven or a sanctuary here in Santa Fe. It's one of the good place to write out the apocalypse,
Yeah.
not to be counter.
Yeah, I agree.
So Orlando, what is your next design? Like what are you doing now?
Right now, at this very moment, I'm working on a couple of like shirts, like just
Oh,
simple tops. I'm they have words on them. Like one word says Njone, and then the other one says Hojo, and they're beaded, and they're I'm making transparent tulle tops. Um,
what does that mean?
and
A transparent tool top.
it's tulle. It's like
Oh,
this.
yes.
So this is 2 layers.
Okay, I want
So
some.
yeah, and
I
so
want my order.
it's yeah, I'm hopefully gonna launch them next Saturday.
Oh,
Um, and so I've been working really hard. My first time grading patterns. I thought it was a pretty simple pattern, so I tried my hand at grading, and I don't think I'll do it again. But
and what is
because it's
grading for the audience
oh,
out there?
pattern grading is when you take your pattern and you size it up or size it down. And so that's what I did with these patterns. And I created from a size 8, I did a size 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. And so that's what I'm working on. But I'm also currently working on a gown for a show, and which is going to be in March, the Herd Indian Market.
Mhm.
And then also I'm planning my next collection, which I don't think is going to be next year. I think it'll be
Mm.
the following year, 2022, because I have some plans to really incorporate a lot more traditional utilitarian techniques onto garments. And so I've got a lot of research and things like that to do before I start. And then also I have 2 wedding gowns that are due with the first part of spring. So
Mm.
kind of busy,
Sounds like
but it's a
it.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did this hashtag a while ago for our red carpets. It's hashtag native glam. So use it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's all about the glam, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Use it.
definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah. And so Kayla, I know, it'll sink in. Are you planning now for next India market? Is that what you're working on now?
I probably there will be another virtual show just the way things are going. So
Yeah,
I'll keep myself open for that. But I
right,
mean, this has turned into a pretty busy year for me too. I'm
right.
probably juggling 6 projects right now, down
Yeah.
from 8 or 9, and like I said, lots more arts focused stuff. And so yeah, I just COVID messaging has probably been about half the projects I've been getting. So working on something with the city of Santa Fe, a comedic PSA with Carlos Medina, local entertainer, musician, actor. So yeah, good stuff to come.
So who inspired you to be a director? Like, what was that for you? What was that aha moment where you were like, this is
I
what I
kind
want to do?
of alluded to it before, where it's kind of a combination of skills I've developed throughout my whole life. And you know, I'm self-taught, and a lot of self-taught filmmaker, and I'm also a self-taught writer. You should see some of the books I wrote before I knew how to formally spell. Once upon a time is a word. And I actually have them hanging on my wall at home to remind me of my inner child. But you know, writer was like my first skill. Background in the fine arts, writer. I've always been interested in people. Almost became a psychologist. Studied the healing arts. So when I picked up a camera, it was all very natural to me, from the shooting and the editing, you know, the visuals and the story crafting and the storytelling. So that was my aha moment, like the first time I made a film. But my inspirations are very diverse. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, the actor, is hugely inspiring to me, because he's so committed to every one of his roles. He's selective. He's every film he's in is most of them, they're amazing to me. So people who are just very good at what they do, who have courage is a big thing in what they do. Anything of high craftsmanship, of soul, heart and soul, that makes you feel human. Those are the kinds of things that inspire me.
So I'm going to ask one more question before we wrap up to both of you. Orlando, what was your when you were making this documentary, what was your aha moment or challenging moment or funny moment that you could share with us during this process?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, we'll come back. We'll come back. You can think for a minute. What was yours, Kayla?
That usually comes at the end, the big aha moments where you don't know exactly how everything's going to fit together. And that's just part of the artistic process. I just gathered a ton of material, more than I could even possibly use, and just kind of, it's almost like a mosaic in the editing process. But there's almost this intuitive signal you get where you're like, yes, oh, this is going to be good, or this is and there's various moments that were captured, you know, that I captured Orlando at his best and worst, I think, right, Orlando?
Yes.
I captured him being so frustrated with one design. And I remember being there, he's like, if this isn't finished today, I'm just not even going to include it in the collection. And then like 2 weeks later, he was working on it. And then him talking about his grandmothers and the emotion that came, and like just the source of a big source of where a lot of his inspiration comes from. And that came at the very last day, you know, that kind of emotional reveal. And and then of course the fashion show where it was all revealed, and then it gets really, you get really pumped up for that. So it's, you know, it's the arc, it's the story arc. And
well, I really missed Indian Market this year, being in person. The previous year was a lot of fun at the fashion, at the catwalk. Do you have that moment, that a challenging moment?
Forget.
No,
but well, I think one of the things I told Kayla is that this is actually with this film was the first time that I was actually able to express what I designed for, the reasons why I designed my clothes and my garments. And I don't speak very well, and then like I can't even write either. So trying to when you put something online or you try to sell something, right, you should use descriptions and try to sell the product, right? But I am so terrible at that. And
There's other
Kayla
people to
coming.
do that.
Oh, I know. If I had more money, yeah, that'd be great. But that's another thing Kayla found out. I am totally broke all the time. Just kidding. But no, it was a chance for me to actually express everything, a lot of what drives me. And I think without Kayla, the way that she guided everything, and you know, I wouldn't have been able to, and I was to really speak about it, and I wouldn't see the whole process come together the way it did. And because like Kayla said, you don't know what's going to happen. And so she would send me little snips here and there, like the little things that she would put together. And every time I see it, I would just kind of it was really, really cool just to see how she put those things together, all the things that she got me to say. She like strong-armed me, so no, but it really became a friendship between Kayla and I, because she knows a lot about me. And I kind of joke and say that we sort of quarantined together, because she was always here. It seemed like every week almost, but for about 2-3 months, about 3 months, right? Of course, it's 3 months. And so yeah, for me, I think that was one of the biggest things I got out of this, is being able to tell people what I stand for, what inspires me. And so I've just never really been able to say it. I usually want the close to speak for themselves, and but they don't. You can make them as beautiful as you want to, but without giving it a voice, then it doesn't really say much more than I'm pretty.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. I was challenged the beginning of the month with having to write something, and they wanted me to come from my place, like I did this, and I was like, I tried, and they said, okay, we'll just do it. Thank God.
yeah.
Thank God. I know it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge.
And it takes time. You're kind of unearthing as a documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
You're coming to it, you're circling it, and then you pick it out, like polish it off like a gem, and
yeah.
it's almost like a design, like or beat
Absolutely.
it together. And
yeah,
I relate so much to his artistic process, let him know throughout the whole way. So.
Yeah.
Well, Red Nation International Film Festival is the home to the Native documentary voice. We usually have, we have 73 documentaries this year. That, speaks for itself. And I started off as a documentary filmmakers, and I love filmmakers. I love the process. And so I want to thank you both for joining us today for our Indigenous Filmmakers Lounge. And I encourage you, everybody that's listening right now and that will listen and replay this later, to visit rednationff.com to view Becoming Orlando
Dugi.
I love that. Make a t-shirt of that. Just make a t-shirt of that. That everybody would go, what is, who, what?
And it was only after I named it and published it that I discovered Michelle Obama wrote a memoir called Become. I swear I didn't know. I did not.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It would be a great t-shirt. Just FYI, I get 10%. No. Anyway.
You make that happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you both, and keep making movies. Kayla, keep making movies. Kayla. You're really, really talented, and I love supporting, and our board of directors, we love supporting emerging filmmakers. And Orlando, keep designing, and when we're in person and I can meet you in person, I want to share with you, talk with you, and see how I can get stuff happening.
Yeah, definitely. I'm up for it. I know. I've been doing this for 10 years now almost, and
Yeah.
I still don't have a clue sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
good.
Well, we'll share our energies and see what happens. But anyway, go visit rednationff.com, visit the 105 films that we have streaming for all of you, and celebrate American Indian Heritage Month with the 25th Red Nation International Film Festival. And we'll see you at the movies. Thank you. Love you guys. Be safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Uh,
Bye.